with you and watching some of the guests arriving and just getting to understand exactly what's going to take place today. Well, the team that's going to be taking over will be Vuyo Mvoko. He'll be taking over from here. Pete Ndora is going to be in the studio. And, of course, let's go down to Ayanda Ali Payne, who's going to say goodbye to you as well, where Zwei is going to be taken over. From me, enjoy the rest of it. Certainly going to be watching this one very, very closely from up here. And I hope you enjoy the SABC's coverage. Ayanda, it's over to you.
Yeah, Leanne, I can't believe it's time for us to say goodbye again, but remember, this broadcast continues. My colleague Mzwandile Mbeje is standing by, and he's going to take you through the arrivals of some of the dignitaries. I feel like we've been celebrity spotting. We just saw Julius Malema. He tried to run away from the eye of the camera. Very low-key interest walking behind us, somehow shying away from the crowds and then managing to pass by. He didn't do the royal wave like majority of some of the politicians just got out and they did that royal wave to greet the media. He somehow tried to slip in, but we saw him.
Well, we did see him, and of course, you know, he will always arrive in his own grand style, because when everybody thought, well, maybe he's not pitching up, he just came through the back door and he's here. And of course, you could see the media was actually mobbing him, but security, it couldn't be possible.
And very respectful he looked today, not in a red overall, not in a red beret, but in a normal suit.
Interestingly, he was in a suit and very dignified, and he's actually, you can see he's ready for the occasion. And that's how life goes. And I guess as we go forward, we're going to see more of this. And we did see those overalls, but going forward, I think he's going to be somehow forced to be in those suits because he has to conduct certain business that requires him that he interacts in this manner.
Indeed, and of course, that's what we would expect from him now, wearing suits and tie and not the red overalls, because at the end of the day, all the electioneering is over. It's culminating in this. What's happening behind us. I'm going to leave it to you. You're going to take over, and I know Peter's standing by his studio, so I walk away live. This is my walk away shot. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for having joined us. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. It's been great working with Ayanda. You know, this important day where the president-elect is going to be inaugurated at around 11. And of course, we're waiting now for the arrival of the heads of state from various countries, mainly from the African continent. And of course, once that starts happening, so we'll then come to you. It's back to you, Peter, in the studio.
Zwandile, thank you very much indeed, and thanks to Leanne and Vuyo. We'll be chatting to him in a short while. But if you've just tuned in, a very good morning to you, and welcome to this ongoing special broadcast. And this comes fresh after the country's 5th democratic elections. Now, earlier this month, that's as when they took place. Now, in a few hours' time, our nation will be inaugurating President Jacob Zuma as the head of state. Our reporters, Vuyo Mvoko, as you saw a short while ago, Yolisa Njamela, Griselda Lewis and Mzwandile Mbeje on the floor or on the lawn or at Union Buildings, whatever you want to call it, and they'll be bringing us more on today's events. But first, let's catch up with Vuyo Mvoko and get a sense of what's going to be happening from now on. In fact, we'll catch up with Vuyo in a short while, but before that, let's take a look at the inauguration of President Zuma 5 years ago and how that went.
The presidential inauguration is a solemn ceremony marked with cultural entertainment at the end. The president-elect takes an oath of office in front of multitudes of people and foreign dignitaries.
So help me God.
The oath is in terms of Schedule 2 of the Constitution, seen as a pledge by the president-elect to the nation. UNISA-based political analyst Professor Lisiba Tefu explains the significance of an oath.
In this instance, we have the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. It prescribes the duties and responsibilities of the head of state. And the head of state is effectively making a promise to all and sundry, perhaps with his hand on the Bible, that I will, by all means possible, with all that I have, uphold the Constitution, never violate it, but never violate the Constitution at all times, and never ever give less than what I'm expected to do. That's the first bit. The second bit says, should I fail to uphold the Constitution as prescribed and as expected of me, necessary sanctions must attend to my failure to do as expected. So implicit in that solemn statement is that I'm also available to be punished should I fail or break my promise to the nation.
Government has thus far received confirmation from 26 heads of state and 11 prime ministers who will attend President Zuma's second-term inauguration ceremony. Also in attendance will be 4 former heads of state and 4 eminent persons. Veteran anti-apartheid struggle activist and retired top diplomat Ambassador Billy Mudise is amongst the first senior diplomats to serve the post-apartheid democratic government under former President Nelson Mandela. I asked him what does it take to ensure that the needs of visiting heads of state are catered for when attending ceremonies like the presidential inauguration.
It's a tremendous challenge, but as you know, we have hosted many international conferences, many international activities. We've had heads of state from all over the world who don't even speak to each other, some of the heads of state, who don't like each other at times. And you as a host of South Africa, you make sure that none of these heads of state are isolated, victimized by the other bigger countries and smaller countries. And you might find yourself neglecting the small countries and focusing on the big brothers from the developed countries. And it's a sensitive issue. Each one is a state, and the United Nations says we are equal. So you treat all of them when they come here equally. And it's not possible, it's not easy on the ground, because the one who's got a big muscle has got also resources like better cars, if you put it that way.
About 118 foreign ambassadors resident in South Africa will also attend the ceremony. Democratic Republic of Congo's ambassador to South Africa, Ben Mpoko, is Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
Pretoria has the second largest diplomatic representation in the world, which means everybody wants to come to South Africa. Every country would like to establish diplomatic relationship with South Africa. Even those who are planning to have a relationship with the other African countries, they come here first and then they observe the rest of the continent before they establish themselves elsewhere. So South Africa has played a very major role by attracting the diplomatic community. So it's a country which has the support of the international community in whatever it does, whether it's investment opportunities, whether it's tourism, whether it's elections. This is a country that has a lot of support. As you know, South Africa is a member of SADC, is a member of G20, is a member of BRICS, and so forth and so on. South Africa has played a major role in the United Nations. They served twice as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. This is a major accomplishment for a young country.
President Zuma secured his second term of office after the ruling party's 62% reduced majority victory. Head of political economy at the Mapungube Institute for Strategic Reflections, Dr. Mcebisi Ndletjana, says whilst President Zuma's second term of office will not be an easy ride, there's much to celebrate about the country's democratic dispensation.
Well, I think firstly, let's recognize the fact that it's an inauguration of a president following a democratic elections. In other countries, these things don't happen. It is a very important ritual which affirms our democratic tradition, us as a democratic society. And this is the fifth parliament. So it would seem that elections are kind of becoming routine with us. So we are beginning to, or increasingly accepting that election is the only way of changing and electing leaders. So, you know, for a new country, for a country in Africa, that's something to celebrate. That's very important. That's a milestone.
Once the formal proceedings of the presidential inauguration ceremony are completed, a cultural event will take place on the southern lawns of the Union buildings. People have been transported from different provinces across the country to witness the event. Tsepo Ikaneng, SABC News, at the Union buildings, Pretoria.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you are watching a live broadcast of the swearing-in ceremony of President Jacob Zuma, who will be taking on the reins for another 5-year term. Special thanks to Leanne Manas, who was here before me, and I'm going to be with you for the next couple of hours. I'll be taking you through the program in a short while, what's going to happen from now. But as things stand, the masters of ceremony are busy welcoming royalty, and a person who just walked in was the King of Amaxhosa, and a lot more are going to arrive. Thereafter, there's going to be the arrival of heads of state, as well as the arrivals of the chairpersons or the heads of parliament, the speaker, Baleka Mbete, as well as the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Thereafter, it's going to be the arrival of the president's wives, followed by the arrival of former President Thabo Mbeki and his spouse. But I'll be taking you through all of that. For now, though, I am joined here in our makeshift studio by the deputy chairperson of the IEC, Mr. Terry Tselane, who played a very key and central role in bringing us where we are today. Mr. Tselane, welcome, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
What a journey it has been, a very hectic, particularly hectic few months for you, taking care of the election which gave us the president we have right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives us a great sense of achievement as the Electoral Commission to see the work that we have put into these elections culminating in the inauguration of the president. And I think to a large extent we really want to express our gratitude to our 218,000 staff members, the electoral staff that worked extremely hard during these elections, and for them to have been able to give us this outcome, I think it's something that is really commendable, and we are very, very grateful for that.
And I mean, for something that culminates into something like this, where the entire world is watching, where the entire continent is watching, where there were no major glitches, you must be feeling very, very satisfied, and really, as you say, all credit must go to the thousands of people who made this day. In other words, who put a great deal of effort to ensure that we have this beautiful day, and without any hangovers, shall we say, from anyone who will say, no, this election was not free and fair.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, going into these elections, we had a few challenges, but to a large extent, we were able to deal with those. And then, as you know, we have been able to provide the country with a very credible election. All our people did their part, and the political parties as well. I think they played a very central role in terms of creating an environment within which we could have a credible election. But I must also really thank the South African population for having participated in the elections and for also having made things easier for us. We understand that when we have 218,000 staff members and we've got 22,263 voting stations, naturally you will have some glitches here and there, but to a large extent, with the support that we have of the South African people, we've been able to achieve what has been declared by the international community and all the observers who were here as free, fair and credible elections.
As you say, incredible, isn't it, that South Africans, no matter what differences they may have had, no matter how dissatisfied they may have been about certain aspects of the election, at the end of the day we're able to rise above all else and actually hold hands and deliver what this nation and the world expects of us.
Absolutely. I think there is an appreciation and an understanding that the election is a very big operation, and that because you only have people for 10 days running the elections, you are likely to have some minor issues, but all in all we ran a very smooth operation, and all the political parties and the South African population in general have actually been commending the IEC for having done this, and then we are grateful for that and humbled by the fact that people also found the process to have gone very smoothly.
Mr. Tselane, thanks to you and your team, and may you continue in that path.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate this. As we always say that after fire brigade has extinguished fire, the next step is to prepare for the next fire. From our side as the Electoral Commission, the next fire is the 2016 local government elections, and then we will be relying again on our staff to make sure that we do not disappoint the South African population.
Best of luck to you and your team. Continue to make South Africa proud.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.
Well, the Deputy Chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, the man who played his part together, of course, with the entire commission, as well as the staff of the Independent Electoral Commission, for having brought us the kind of election that we have. Well, dignitaries continue to arrive. Right now, royalty, you saw earlier, Isilo Samabandla Onke arriving. After him, you also saw Ukumkani Wamahlubi arriving as well. So it's time for royalty right now, and as I said earlier, other dignitaries are going to arrive, but I will be taking you through that process as it unfolds, telling you who's going to come, coming with who, at what time, and so on. Well, that is the Bard Umkiva, who will, of course, be introducing the president a little later on before the president speaks. But right now, though, I am joined by the Minister of Defense, Mama Unosviwe Mapisa Ngakula. Mama, Subulis.
Good morning.
Well, a lot of work must have gone into organizing something like this.
Oh, true. Lots of work, hard work, but also I think this is a culmination of a long period of debates, campaigning, which was very robust, I believe, and we're proud to see what is people sitting around, and comfortably so, because indeed a lot has gone into it.
Well, I'm not going to ask you about the budget. You know, I'm only going to ask you about just the enormity of the task. I mean, what are the sort of things that maybe the rest of us take for granted? The sort of things that go into putting together something like this.
Lots of rehearsal all the way. But also, I think people just see aircrafts flying our flags and they think, wow, how beautiful. What they don't know is the planning behind the scenes that goes into that, the timing, everything. Because you have to make sure that as you sing the national anthem, there's a 21-gun salute and there's an air display. And it takes a lot of discipline as well. Because if people are not disciplined, they wouldn't be able to do some of the things which we are going to see here today. So I think people are beginning to get used to some of the things which we do as the South African National Defence Force. But I would like to remind you that today you will see the ceremonial guard just behind the podium. You will also see a fly past when we sing the national anthem, the 21-gun salute. What you will see here is a display of the assets of the South African National Defence Force, but actually the assets of the South African people.
And a lot goes wrong before the Defence Force and other components responsible for this get it right.
Of course, it's never perfect from the beginning. It takes a lot of practice, as I said, and as I say, a lot of discipline, timing. I mean, if you know that soldiers are known for being very punctual, you know, it is because of the way they are trained that, you know, if it's 1 minute past 4, it is 1 minute past 4. Nothing earlier, nothing later.
And I guess sleepless nights your colleagues at Foreign Affairs would have had trying to make sure that other heads of state and government do arrive on time, and all is coordinated so that they don't trip or fall on top of one another.
We are not only that, remember the security cluster, the lives of these people are in our hands. All the people are here. So one thing goes wrong, then we are all in it. So it takes a lot of planning, even from the security cluster itself, police, soldiers, of course our state security services and so on. After the hard work which they were they embarked upon during the election campaign, making sure that the hotspots, there's calm in the hotspots, there's no fighting amongst our people. So it's been a very draining and tiring process, but we're happy. We're very happy. And of course, I can speak now as also a member of the African National Congress, and I can say I'm happy that we won the election. I'm happy that we can now inaugurate a president of the African National Congress as the president of the Republic of South Africa. And a lot of work went into it.
And you can't afford to lower the guard, because if anything goes wrong, no matter how small, the nation's reputation is at stake.
Of course. I mean, we went to sleep around midnight yesterday, some of us, because the heads of state were landing at the Waterkloof Air Base. And we are here now this morning. As you are sitting there, you're not so comfortable. People, you expect reports to come through just to indicate if things are going well or not. So really, I think there's a lot of work that has gone into it, and I would hope that whatever little people may be unhappy about will not be made a big story.
Well, let's hope so. Thank you very much, Minister. The Minister of Defense, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, talking to us about the sort of organization, the level of organization that goes into organizing something like we are seeing today. Well, I am going to be taking you through what's going to happen next, but for now, though, let's go down there where Mzwandile Mbeche is standing by. He's on that other side where all the dignitaries get dropped off. He's going to talk to us about what he is seeing right where he is. Mzwandile, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Vuyo. Indeed, it's a glorious day. If you can see, the sun is shining, and it's, of course, a very warm day. You know, earlier on it was a bit chilly, but now the weather is getting much, much better. You have seen the royalty, and those were the last people to arrive. And, of course, you know now that what's going to be happening is that the heads of state and former heads of state will start arriving, and then that will mean we are not far from the actual event. Of course, you know that at around 11 we expect President Jacob Zuma to take the oath. But right now what's happening is that there's a bit of a lull, if you can see. But of course the stage is set, because everything must be put in a way that is military precision. You know, an event of this nature, Boyo, so it's not that event where people just do or show up anyhow. So there is order, and as you could see how what happened. I mean, people got here very, very, very early, and then after the royalty, we've seen the king of the Zulus, the king of Amakos, and the king of Amavenda, and then they are all here, as we indicated. And then after that, it will be presidents, and then former presidents, and then we'll then wait for the main man, which is President Jacob Zuma, to take the oath. And of course, this will be the 5th democratic dispensation since 1994. Of course, he is the 4th president of a democratically elected South Africa. That's the situation as it stands now, Voyo. Back to you.
Well, thanks there to Mzwandile Mbeche, who is on the other side of this amphitheater. From where he is standing, he can actually see all the dignitaries as they arrive. But the pictures you're seeing now are of the place where the concert is going to be held, and that's where the masses of our people are going to be. After the formal proceedings here, they will be singing along, dancing, and doing all the fun things that a day like this indeed deserves. It's a celebration as South Africa inaugurates the president. Just in case you joined us a short while ago, you are watching a live broadcast brought to you by SABC News. We are bringing you the inauguration of President Jacob Zuma for a second term. Now, I did have a look at a political biography that the presidency has prepared for dignitaries today. It does talk to the priorities ahead, but also it traces his entire political history, the things he has done over the years, over the decades, but I'm not going to talk you through that. Suffice to say that it does speak to the future, in other words, the focus of his next 5 years, and that is the implementation, from what that document tells us, the implementation of the National Development Plan. That the president says is going to be his priority. They have looked back at the things he has done over the past 5 years, where he needs to consolidate the sort of things that perhaps need to be done away with, and they have arrived at one conclusion, and that conclusion is that the focus for the next 5 years should be on the implementation of the National Development Plan. Well, they shouldn't be having a great deal of opposition there if you consider the fact that even the official opposition, the Democratic Alliance, buys into that National Development Plan as the kind of vision that should take this country forward. And so do most, in fact, a great majority of the other smaller parties as well. The major opposition, it would appear, would in fact be coming from the ANC or from within the ANC itself, but it's not a great deal of opposition if you consider what COSATU has already said, in fact, months ago, that they do support the plan broadly. They do have issues with specific chapters and specific issues within it, but an agreement was arrived at that Alliance Summit that was held last year, that in fact in those areas, which is a great majority of areas, implementation could in fact go ahead, and then they could start negotiating about what can be done with regard to the areas where there are still outstanding issues or where there is no agreement. That of course speaks to the National Development Plan, which the presidency says is going to be the major focus and the major preoccupation of the Jacob Zuma administration over the next 5 years. For now, though, we are now going to go down there at the lawn. I don't know if our colleagues who are there are ready to actually take us through what is happening there.
Vuyo Mvoko, thank you very much indeed. And as you can see, guests continue to arrive. The final dignitaries getting ready for, I guess, one of the biggest events in a country's history. And that, of course, is the inauguration of the country's president. And that's going to be happening in a short while. So we're broadcasting from Pretoria, Union Buildings, but also here in head office, as it were, in Johannesburg at the Auckland Park studios. And in fact, I have a guest who's helping us unpack this unfolding story today, and that's Dr. Mcebisi Ndlechana, who's a senior research specialist. You must Science Research Council, political analyst. You may wear any hats, though, don't you?
Well, I'm actually at Mistra.
Okay,
not
right. You've moved on from there.
That's old news.
Oh,
yes,
my
yes,
goodness,
yeah.
there you go. All right, but always a pleasure to talk to you. We had a chat before the election. It's happened. He's got his mandate, and I wonder, on a day like today, he doesn't have to campaign anymore. What would the nature of the speech be now?
Well, it is his second term, the last 5 years. It's not about looking back now. It's about how do I want people to remember me. The last time around, Nelson Mandela was there. He kind of modeled himself as a Madiba-like fellow. Now Madiba is not there anymore, so it's all about him. The focus would be on him. He's the only man standing. So the theme, really, the major thing is how do people remember me when I've left? So what are the major things that he is likely to concentrate on? I don't know, but that's certainly one of the major things in his mind.
So is it about making promises, or is it about reminding people of who he is. What is the essence of a speech like this on a day like to this? You know, I mean, I'm just trying to get my hand around what it could be or what he wants us to feel after this speech.
But I think it's also a moment of appreciation that he knows that most people didn't think he would get a second term. Perhaps a moment for self-contentment that he's made it. The ANC fought a very tough fight. But then it's also about what, because the ANC dropped from 65 to 62. So there are danger signs looming that if the ANC doesn't do well, they're likely to drop even further. So, you know, it's about, yes, about himself, but also about how does he continue an ANC presidency. So it's about promises. Perhaps not so much promises, but commitments. This is what we will do. And especially on things that are likely, things that are quick wins as well. Because you also have 2016. The ANC didn't do well in a lot of metros, city of Joburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela. So they are well aware that if they don't do things differently, it can no longer continue as business as usual. So there are certain dramatic, tangible things that have got to happen. And in this case, I think he will be saying that making commitments with an eye not only on ANC improving, not losing these metros, but also on how he cements his own legacy so that at least people will have some positive things to say when he's gone.
Talking about legacy, will the National Development Plan be one of his legacy issues?
Yes, it will be. It will be, and that will be good for him. And it's likely to be implemented because Cyril Ramaphosa, it looks like he will be deputy president, even though there were all sorts of rumors. He will be deputy president, and NDP has been Cyril's baby so far. He was chairperson of the commission. So, and you know, most likely he will be in charge of government. The president is in his second term, 73. He's not as energetic as he was, if at all he was energetic. But so Cyril will push that. He will be in charge of government. And the key thing really is that this cabinet has to be a delivery-oriented cabinet. Otherwise, the ANC is not looking at a good future. So they are well aware of that. They are well aware of that. And, you know, if common sense prevails, then they'll do the right things.
All right, okay. We're going to carry on with this conversation as this broadcast unfolds. And right now, though, as you know, we have a number of people at Union Buildings. Vuyo Mvoko is in our makeshift studio there as our point man, but there are reporters around the building. And right now, let's catch up with Yolisa and Jamila and find out what's happening where she is at Union Buildings. Yolisa?
Are getting more excited. The excitement is building up. There are two huge screens that have been erected here where they will see the live proceedings as they happen at the amphitheater. President Jacob Zuma, of course, will come through here after taking the oath to say hello to all South Africans. But as we promised you, we said we'll be bringing you all the artists that are on this stage. We told you that we'll hustle for you and ensure that we get the prime spot for you and talk to all the artists. We're now going to be joined by Greg Makoma, the world-renowned dancer, to tell us first, of course, it must be a great honor to be here.
It is indeed a great honor, and I'm very privileged as a choreographer and also as a dancer to be part of this massive event. So I'm really, really excited, and also to be putting it together from a choreographic point of view. So it's an honor.
And can you tell South Africans just a bit of what they can expect here? I understand it's a very tight 90 minutes production that has been put together.
Yes, we put together a very tight 90 minutes, which is really celebrating our cultures and our uniqueness as people of this country. And also what is wonderful, we're seeing collaborations between artists as well, which is really fundamental to the whole principle of unity. So we bring all artists from all walks, from really, and and the icons in our country, in the music industry, in the cultural industry, and they're coming together and they're celebrating with us. So it's really, really a moment of celebrating who we are as South Africans, and we're saying to the world, we're working together, we are a nation, we are a rainbow nation, and we are a country that is proud of who we are, and we're celebrating our cultures.
And as we celebrate diversity, of course, as you mentioned it, if you can tell those South Africans who are not fortunate enough to know who you are, Greg Markov.
Well, I'm a choreographer, I'm a dancer, and I'm proudly South African, and I've been working in this country, though most of my work is get seen outside the country. But it's a great platform for South Africa to witness also the kind of work that I'm able to bring here. But it's not only the taste that I'm bringing in, I'm also celebrating the cultures which are making our unique nation. And I think it's very profound, it's very significant for an event like this to celebrate who we are, to celebrate our cultures.
While Greg is being very modest, there's actually an award-winning choreographer. And tell you what, just for South Africans to taste a bit of what they're going to see here, let's let Greg do a bit of a thing. Greg, just to show South Africans what they know you about. Well, you can't say we didn't show you what it's all about.
It's a bit that we can see, but there's plenty more.
There's plenty more. From the Southern Lawns, we're bringing it to you live, and we'll be right here, prime spot on the stage, to talk to all the artists and showcase South Africa's diversity and all its glory. We're taking it straight down to Griselda, my colleague.
Well, what a celebration here on this side of the Southern Lawns, as hundreds of people have now filled this area waiting for President-elect Jacob Zuma to be inaugurated. I can tell you the excitement here is palpable. The musicians really performing at their best, and South Africans are saying they want to be part of this occasion. We're expecting 20,000 people to come here. I can tell you they're coming in their numbers quite fast, and as you can hear, he says, "Sifuna Zuma hape," which means they want President Jacob Zuma again. So I'm going to chat to someone at the moment who's from the Northern Cape. Let me chat to her here. You were telling me that you've come all the way from the Northern Cape to come and witness what's going to take place here today. Tell us why.
Because I wanted to see my president, and my view is that there must be more job descriptions, job creations, bursaries for young people, opportunities for young people, so that they can move forward. Sure. That's my point.
All right, let me speak to you as well. You're also here joining your friends, saying you cannot miss out on this momentous occasion.
No, I definitely cannot. My view is, I would like to see more learnerships and involving young people, and so that they can stop using drugs and so on, and that they will be or feel a part of the community. And
all right, quite lost for words there, hey? But certainly, as you can see here, many of the people who've come out here to celebrate, saying that already giving President Jacob Zuma many tasks as he's being sworn in today, many of the excitement, everyone's coming closer. Certainly a crowd that we cannot control, but it is quite a celebration here, and this is exactly how we expect things to unfold as the celebrations continue here at the Southern Lawns. It's back to you, Vuyo.
Griselda, it's actually Mzwandile who is here just up the road from where you are. Clearly you are having a jolt down there, I can hear, and people seem to be very excited. And of course I have Prince Shabalala from the Defense, who will actually explain to us what's going to be happening from now on. You know, the inauguration of the President, and of course he is the Commander-in-Chief of the South African Armed Forces. Prince, just take us through what's going to be happening.
What is going to happen now, as you can see, the dignitaries are arriving, and so the role of the National National Defence Force is basically in a supporting role in terms of ceremonial. We are having door openers who will be opening for the president and those dignitaries that have been invited, and then after that the main group, which is the security class that service chiefs, including the police, the chief of the SNDF and his entourage, will then support the president as he takes the podium. And then after that there will be a national anthem. After the national anthem is played, then we'll see a fly past through, and then once the fly past, and that would be basically the conclusion of the role of the National Defence. But we are playing a bigger role in support of this whole event, because we are deployed currently in terms of security, medical support, and as well as we are also having military liaison officers all over the country looking after the dignitaries. As you can see, this whole event, it's a very, very more focused on ceremonial. Everything have to have some kind of military dignity and military precision.
How important is the role of defense in occasions like this? We know it's known for discipline, it's known for well conduct, good conduct. I mean, in an event of this nature, how important the defense force finds this occasion?
We are mainly playing a key ceremonial role. As you can know, that since 1994, the defense has been playing quite a key role in all the ceremonial of the inauguration of the president and in all the major events where the president as a commander-in-chief is involved. We normally render that support where we are putting and paying respect to the state, as well as showing that loyalty and obedience to the civil authority. Our significance here is not only to support in terms of security, but also to show that we are constitutionally integrated, democratic national defense force that represents the will of the people.
Thank you very much. That was Prince Shabalala from the Defence Force giving us an indication of their role as Defence Force in this whole event here. Earlier on, we saw the former SG of the Organization of African Unity, you know, now it's known as the African Union, so who came and amid applause, you remember that he also delivered the lecture yesterday, the Thabo Mbeki lecture. You'd remember that he was actually one of those very important people of African leaders that are attending. As we will be saying, there are also other African leaders like Nigerian president who will be coming here to grace this occasion. And of course, as we go forward, we'll be able to expand more on the importance of the attendance of so many African leaders in an occasion like this. Of course, this is an occasion of an African country, but you know what? It's celebration time, and that's why we're taking you back to the southern lawns and go to the stage and see what's happening there.
Well, South Africa united in its diversity. You are going to see and hear lots and lots of what you are actually watching on your screen right now. Those celebrations are going to continue throughout the day, and we will be bringing you all what you are seeing and more throughout the day. For now, though, just in case you've missed it, a few heads of state, former heads of state have arrived. Among them, in fact, the biggest applause was reserved for Kenneth Kaunda, the former president of Zambia. You will recall that he's been a friend of the African National Congress. He's the man who hosted the ANC during those years in exile. So he attends each and every one of these types of ceremonies because he holds a very special place, and he is held in high regard by the ANC and by the government of the ANC. Over the past 20 years, he's been a very special man, held in high regard and really honored, because the ANC owes a lot to him, because if it wasn't for him, a lot of what we're seeing today would probably have never happened. He's a man who sacrificed, and I believe his own people had to sacrifice because he had to make sure that the mass liberation movement of South Africa gets a home in Zambia, and the ANC in particular. Now, so but also after him, we also saw Festus Mogae, the former president of Bophuthatswana. He has also arrived, but also several other dignitaries who have already arrived. A little later on, of course, just to give you a sense of who is going to arrive and when. Between now it's about 10 o'clock. It's still more heads of state and government are going to be arriving, but as soon as all of them have arrived, we will see the arrival of the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Thandi Modise, who will be arriving together with her partner. Immediately thereafter, we will see the arrival of President-elect Jacob Zuma's wives. Immediately thereafter, former President Thabo Mbeki will arrive together with his partner, Mrs. Zanele Mbeki. Thereafter, the outgoing Deputy President, Kgalema Motlanthe, and his wife, they will arrive with his wife, Kuku. Thereafter, Justice Mogoeng and his partner will arrive. All of this, of course, is neatly and carefully coordinated. Nothing has to go wrong. So the protocol officers are coordinating with the heads of protocol of these very important people to make sure that everything happens as it is supposed to happen. We will, of course, take you through what will happen soon thereafter. For now, though, do enjoy the entertainment that is being provided to you, which we are bringing to you live from the lawns at the bottom where Yoli Sanjamela is, who, of course, in between those songs and performances, keeps speaking to some of our performing artists, just to get a sense of what is going through in their minds, why they are here, and what we'll be bringing to all of us by way of entertainment. So just enjoy the song and dance that's happening at the bottom there at the lawns.
It's an absolutely melting pot down here on the southern lawns of the Union buildings. Diversity and unity, or unity in diversity rather. You'll see for yourselves the whole day as local artists, South Africans and colors and different garbs come here and entertain these thousands who converged here while it was very chilly early this morning from 4 a.m. I dare say you were still sleeping at that time. You must remember the security is absolutely tight around this area. If you want to come through here, best come through here now. And remember also that private cars are not allowed to come in here. Now, we are right on stage and we'll be bringing you all the artists as they perform. Once they perform, they come through to the SABC television cameras to chat with you and try to lure you out of that house and come here and chat with us. One more thing that I can inform you about is that Uzolani Mkiva, who was Madiba's poet, will today render a special poem, we understand, for Utatu Ketlehekisa Jacob Zuma. Now, we do know as well that these thousands who are here would like to be up there at the amphitheater, but the two huge screens that have been erected here, they know that they will get all the proceedings as they come through live to them, and President Jacob Zuma will come through down here again to speak to the masses, just to ensure that, you know, everyone doesn't miss out on anything. Let's take it back to Vuyo just for now.
Wait, before Tabo. Yeah, Tabo. Well, the people you're seeing there are all the people who have gathered at the lawns further down from where we are standing right now. These are the people who have come to celebrate with President Jacob Zuma as he is being inaugurated for a second term. And the people you are seeing right now are all the dignitaries from heads of state to members of parliament to leaders of business, of civil society, leaders of various political organizations and political parties. All of them are gathered here coming to witness this occasion. We are going to try and move closer to those people, just so that you also get a sense of who's who and who's here. The people who have come to witness this occasion. It is, of course, quite an event. It comes once every 5 years, and a lot of people work, in fact, very hard to make sure that they are invited, because to some extent it does sort of give certain people stature. It speaks about where you belong, it speaks about your role in society, but also it speaks about the role that or the roles that certain people play in our country, its running, and so on. I'm hoping that we are going to move closer to those people, just to get a sense of who is here, the various sort of constituencies, the various groups, the various people who are leaders in their own right. Of course, we have an important role to play, because government alone cannot do anything to move this country forward. You have all these civil society organizations, these business organizations, these labor organizations that have to play their respective roles in ensuring that this country moves forward. As I told you earlier, the focus for the next 5 years, certainly from that political biography of President Jacob Zuma that was distributed here this morning. Right at the end, it talks to what he will be focusing on over the next 5 years, and that is the implementation of the National Development Plan. First of all, of course, what the government will still have to do is to go to each and every corner of this country, to all constituencies, to make sure that everybody embraces that National Development Plan, rallies behind it, so that they then get each sector, each corner, each person gets to know what it is exactly that is expected of them, the roles that each and every one of us will have to play in ensuring that that National Development Plan is in fact implemented. And as everybody hopes it will do, it will indeed take our nation forward.
His Excellency Vice President Dr. Guy Scott.
Right, if you're just joining us and just tuning in, you're watching the, I guess, the preamble to the biggest event that's taking place in the country today, and one of the biggest events in a country's calendar. Every 5 years, we elect a new president, a new head of state, and today, President Jacob Zuma will take the oath of office and begin his term as President of South Africa. And we're bringing you this special broadcast from here in Johannesburg at Auckland Park, but more importantly at Union Buildings, where this event is taking place. Hundreds, thousands of guests have already started arriving, and most of them are in place now, and everybody's waiting for the guest of honor, the guest of the day, who'll be arriving shortly, and the proceedings will start taking place. So a lot to look forward to, and we'll bring you all those pictures and give you an idea of the guests that have arrived. And it looks like a warm day, but do not be deceived. It's a bit chilly, even though the sun is out, but I don't think that's going to put a dampener on the day today. It's a big occasion. People have come from many countries to witness the inauguration of President Zuma, and there'll be a big party afterwards. And as I said, a little bit more about the guests that are arriving. But let's chat to Dr. Ndlechana, who's our guest in studio. And just before Vuyo crossed to us, he spoke again about the National Development Plan. We began our conversation by talking about what needs to be in this speech. And I guess after the fighting for seats in Parliament, one would expect that maybe this is an opportunity to try and inspire the nation to come together.
Yes, this is the moment to kind of remind us of our own foundational values as a democratic republic. What happened, what preceded all this, why we kind of believe in these values that we have, and recommit ourselves to what we stand for. So you would expect that kind of speech. A lot has been happening in the last few years, which has kind of distracted our attention away from the important things. We have become a lot more polarized. We have seen institutions of state pitted against each other, to a point where it would appear that we have forgotten what we are all about. That our state depends on institutions being healthy. If the institutions are not healthy, then our democracy is not healthy. Ultimately, it's not about individuals. It's not about how much we like a certain person or that person, or how much we hate the other person, or whether we think low of that, of whoever. It's about observing the rules of the game. It's about following our procedures. It's about living up to what we said we would become. So when you discard institutions in favor of individuals, then it means the rule of law begins to weaken.
How do we get South Africans to think about South Africa first and not about the politics per se?
Your conduct and your speech should tower above the petty personal interests. Leadership is very important because you are at that public forum. You set the example. People are looking at you. That is why we always talk about exemplary leadership. It's not enough that you say you will do this or that, but you need to live out those values yourselves. Because whether we like it or not, people are very fond of presidents. They are very fond of leaders, especially South Africa, you see, because this is a country that was liberated out of oppression. We have heroes, people who gave up their own lives so that we could be free, people who risked, who lost their own childhood, went to war and fought for us so that we could be free. So unavoidably, those people become heroes. We adore them. And that's where the risk is, that we adore them to a point where we might elevate them beyond institutions. And because we adore them, they must use that adoration in a good way, responsible way. They must surrender themselves to the Republic for the creation of the Republic. That's what Madiba did. He realized that people loved him and they were willing to do anything he wanted them to do. So he used that public adoration to create institutions. He surrendered himself for the cause of the Republic so that the Republic might be born. He became the foundation of the Republic. So that's the kind of leadership we need. So how do you inspire? You inspire by not hypocritical, by showing that you believe in what you say, and providing that exemplary and ethical leadership.
Okay. All right, so we're seeing some of the guests that have arrived there. We've just seen Mama Winnie Mandela there, and we've seen some former heads of state that have been coming through. I'm just wondering, on a day like today, what does it tell us when we start looking at the names and the stature of the guests, particularly heads of state that come through? Is it a reflection of where South Africa sits in terms of the world order?
It is, it is. Just before I answer that directly, I'm quite happy that they are now being welcomed by Nelson Mandela's statue. For a while I felt that the new Republic had not quite put its own stamp on that building. And we have Nelson Mandela, a huge statue welcoming everyone. Unfortunately, Louis Bora's statue had to make way. It's still somewhere there, but fortunately it was not completely removed because we still have to tell the entirety of our history. We cannot hide certain things. But of course, Mandela is the founding father of the Republic, and it's quite appropriate that he should be the statue standing in front of the Union Building welcoming everyone. What does it say about this wide variety of guests? It says something good. That we are still liked. We still have friends. More friends than Zimbabwe, perhaps. So it's a good thing, and that is an indication of how many countries value you, because diplomacy can be very petty. People can easily say, "Well, I don't like your government, I won't go." In most cases where there is tension, those countries don't show up. We were just talking earlier whether Rwanda will show up, because there's been a lot of bad blood, nasty things that Kagame has been doing in South Africa, trying to solve his own problems in his country, in the South African soil. So it's a good sign of South Africa standing in the world. I know we've been worried. Our ego has been dented lately that Nigeria has surpassed us as the biggest economy in the world. And we thought that perhaps no one will like us anymore. People will not call us. They will not answer to our invitations. But it testifies to the prominence. You see, the important thing, though, about South Africa, and especially about the ANC, is that it's been a universal movement from the very beginning. Its founders were progressive statesmen who did not only operate in the domestic space, but operated globally. So the anti-apartheid cause, the cause of freedom, was not just a cause to free South Africa, but to better humanity, to better the human condition. Pixley Kaseme in 1906 speaks about the African Renaissance at a very early age in Columbia, New York. So that testified to the universality of our struggle. So we continue to play at that level. It's quite possible that we have not been as eloquent on that issue as we've been, but nonetheless our institutions, our official posture reinforces the idea that we are all fighting for a just global community.
So let me ask you this then. It's a South African event, it's a day for South Africans. But do you think that there will be a message for Africa today and the continent in the President's speech?
Yes, we would expect that. The President is not known for his oratory, of course, and so we don't expect him to quote Yeats and to come up with a flowery speech or something like that. But we would want him to affirm the importance of justice in the world, the importance of Africa getting a good deal, a deal that Africa deserves. There's a lot of things that continue to be unjust, unfavorable towards the continent. So, especially because this is a global stage, right? CNN, Sky TV, they are all there broadcasting this event. So it's an opportunity. It's a moment to communicate to the world, to communicate to the continent as well. Unfortunately, most of our leaders, African leaders, are there, and also to reaffirm South Africa's respect for the entire continent.
Well, talking about the entire continent and the world, in fact, we'll continue this conversation a little bit later on, Dr. Nlechana, but let's go to union buildings, because somebody who knows international relations well is our own minister, and I think Vuyo is going to have a conversation with her now.
Let us welcome His Excellency, the President Harry Rajawan Narimam Pianina from the Republic of Madagascar.
It's a confirmation that South Africans working together, we can surely move this country forward.
Well, I was talking to the Minister of Defense earlier, saying a lot goes into putting together something like this. Lots of special sleepless nights, a lot of fighting, just to get things right.
Very much so. But I think we improve with experience, but also just with the passion that comes with us being South Africans and wanting to do things right. But I really want to take this opportunity to say that there's also a very, very good stamp of approval from the international community that they love what's going on here. We've got more than 100 ambassadors, high commissioners, members of the diplomatic corps representing all their countries from all corners of the world. We've got more than 40 heads of states and government who are here, not even including special envoys and all. They are here and receiving them from the past 2 days and even this morning at the presidential guest house. They say they are all very, very proud to be connected with the South African story, the good South African story, that of democracy, rule of law, respect of international law, and also peace, security, and development. We are the products of our people's struggles, equally products of the international solidarity, and they are We've done very well in the past 20 years.
Well, speaking of solidarity, because there's a sense among, as we were covering the election, there is a sense among sort of, especially your sort of old style or veteran activists, if I was to call them that's international solidarity. We're not doing more of that, even though, yes, in issues like sort of Palestine, we do sort of dip in and out, but we're not putting those at the center of South Africa's agenda. But given our history, it's something we should be doing perhaps more of than we are doing at the moment.
I think we are doing much, much more, but differently, because in the past we were doing it, approaching it from the activist part. Now that we are an activist government in charge, we use the levers of the state to do exactly that. The voice of President Zuma and of South Africa is sought in many of the international fora that we belong to, from IPSA to BRICS to G77 to the United Nations to the AU where we come from, and SADC, our home. So the ruling party continues to interact with other parties around the world, whilst South Africans, ordinary South Africans through the NGOs, continue to interact. But as a government, as a party in government, we also have a responsibility to play that role, centered on our foreign policy of Ubuntu. That which says, I am because you are, that which we want and wish for South Africa, we want and wish and will fight for SADC, for the AU, for the developing world, and for the international community through the UN. We've shown this in action. In the 20 years we've been in the Security Council, and we've left our indelible mark there. We have hosted the most spectacular soccer FIFA World Cup here in this country. We hosted the best UNFCCC, United Nations Framework for Climate Change conference here in South Africa, where the international community said we've breathed a new life into climate change negotiations. We have not only joined BRICS, but we were there when the vision document of BRICS was finalized and adopted. I can go on view, but I am saying that we came in a bit late in the past 20 years, but we think we have made an valuable contribution.
And they've done every South African proud.
Thank you very much.
Before I let you go, Minister, speaking of Ubuntu, this celebration is taking place against the backdrop of something very tragic happening in Nigeria, where all those girls, no one still knows where they are, and we all want them back. The world has spoken, we have spoken, Africa has spoken. Your message?
We shall not rest until we find those girls safe back with their families. We have been calling upon the abductors that the time has come to stop using girl children as weapons of war. I can also take into confidence to inform you that His Excellency President Goodluck Jonathan is here, and through the regular interaction that we have, we will be continuing on the partnership, but also on the other mechanisms to work together, to exchange information, to see how we could all work together as Africans to make sure that we don't have a repeat of what has happened in Nigeria. We do not have a repeat of what's going on in Kenya. On the good side, we have majority of countries in the continent led by democratically elected governments. Again, African leaders have come up with the African rapid response to crisis. A lot of things don't get said through Vuyo,
the media,
but we do have a plan.
But you are working on it.
We are working on it.
Kenya and Nigeria is at the top of that agenda,
very much,
with the heads of state who are here.
Well, the heads of states are coming here to celebrate a continuation of this good story here in South Africa, but they will not lose an opportunity not to also give attention to the most immediate and pressing issues. The chair of the African Union Commission is also here with us, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma.
Minister, thank you very much. Let me allow you to go back to your seat. Thank you very much for talking to us. The Minister of International Relations, Ms. Nkwana Mashabane. Well, let's go to Mzwandile down there, right where the dignitaries sort of make their way through to this amphitheater. He's going to tell us what he's seeing right where he is.
Sibonga kakhulu Vuyo njengoba usushilo nje silapha okukhona khona ezikhulu lapho esifikela khona sesibonile abanye bomongameli, sibone isekela likamongameli waseZambia uGuy Scott efika, noNdunankulu wase-Ethiopia. Uzokhumbula phela ukuthi uwusihlalo futhi we-African Union. That's a very important position given what's happening now. And we have, as we've indicated, we have many African heads of state who have come to witness this occasion. So are the journalists from across the continent who have come. With me, I have a journalist from Malawi. Just remind us your name.
My name is Stuart Kumbanywa.
As a journalist from Malawi, and yes, Malawi is currently going through elections now. In fact, is the counting that is happening, and we're still waiting for the outcome. And witnessing this occasion, which happened about a week ago. So, how does it feel to you?
It feels so emotional and great at the same time. You know, there's so much that African countries should take upon on this inauguration today. Most countries were not conducting this election in free and fair in some conditions. So as a journalist, it's our duty and our role to bring about what South Africa has gone through right now as a free and fair elections in this country.
Having seen what happened in South Africa 2 weeks ago and what is happening in Malawi currently, do you think a lot can be learned from this situation?
Yes, so much. A lot can be learned from this situation because there is a generation that we need to teach about politics and how politics are played. Most of them are playing in a dirty politics, which is not for the coming generations, won't be good at all for the countries. This is why it's causing there's war and instability in countries around the world.
There's so many other journalists who have come to this event. What do you think is the reason? So many African journalists, in fact, not only African, even beyond our borders.
I might say most of them is to bring across what South Africa as a country with peace and a rainbow country as it is, to bring about a change to others to experience the same as they have done here in South Africa.
I'm not going to hold you too much because you've got to do your duty and take photos. There was a journalist from Malawi basically saying, you know what, there's a lot that other African countries can learn from South Africa. And of course, South Africa can learn so much from what's happening on the continent as well. Malawi is currently going through the counting process. You know, last week they had elections as well, where Joyce Banda was contested by about 11 other candidates, and currently the situation is not clear what's happening, who's leading, but the situation will become clearer as the days progress. We spoke about the African Union and of course the African Union Commission, as we've just seen Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, who's the chairperson of the African Union Commission. You'd remember that when South Africa and other countries campaigned hard to get her to that post, because we as the continent perhaps have got to get to that situation where South Africa would be changed. Here at home, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma was known as the minister who was a doer, a minister who got things to happen. And then I think that perhaps informed the decision of campaigning for her to go and head the continental body. But we said earlier on, these are the celebrations and the Southern Lawns is happening, and I guess all of us would want to be there and celebrating. Let's take you down to the Southern Lawns.
Next up, as we know, Guti, we are a rainbow nation. Angit Mzansi. Angit. We are a rainbow nation, ne? Okay, guys, our next group, we need to introduce them.
I have to introduce them because they are from the Cape. All the way from the Cape, ne? Right here, Union Buildings. You know, that's what democracy is about.
Yeah, and
diversity, we combine everybody. If the music is from the Cape, we bring it here. If it's from KZN, we bring it here. All over the country. We are together here today.
That's why I'm so proud to be South African, and I'm so proud to be here in Namhlanje. Guys, give it up for the Cape Minstrels.
Cape Town Minstrels, especially in Izandla.
Well, as Mzwandile told you there that the person you're seeing on your screen really needs no introduction, the chairperson of the AU. According to the program, we are very much on time. Everything is going the way it is supposed to go, because round about now it is indeed the time when she is supposed to arrive. So we shouldn't be having any time issues if things go the way they are going right now. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka Mbete, did arrive ahead of the time she was supposed to arrive, as well as the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Thandi Modise. So we should be right on track. And a special thank you to those people who, you see, this is what happens when you have too many things in your head. I said Festus Mogai was from Bophuthatswana. Perhaps it's leftovers from the election campaign. I remember speaking to one leader of the UCDP who felt that life was better in Lucas Mangopa's Bophuthatswana than it is today under ANC rule. Something that did, I must say, take me aback. So of saying 20 years into democracy, how could something like that have happened? So my sincere apologies there. Festus Mogai, as everyone knows, is the former president of Botswana. Thanks to those who corrected me or pointed that out. Well, let's go now to the southern lawn, to the lawns further south, where the entertainment is going on, and some of the people who are there are getting jiggy with it.
Wow, beautiful celebrations down at the South Lawns as people await for the official inauguration of President-elect who will soon be President Jacob Zuma, and then he will be taking his second term, his second 5-year term. But as we said earlier on, there's all sorts of people who have come to attend this event, people from the society, from the churches, from the royalty, politicians from across the continent, and of course from beyond our continent. But with me right now I have Semi Mashita, who is a convener of the PTT here in Gauteng of the Youth League. I know today is not a political event, but it's a national event that must be observed by everyone. So as the Youth League, or as the youth of this country, how do you take this?
Look, I think we take this as the beginning of a journey, and that's why we are not even in our political party regalia. We are here as South Africans to say that young people have got expectation from this coming term of our government, and young people are the ones who want to be the winners in the majority, given the fact that they are also the majority in society. And we think this is just the beginning of a journey that we must all be part of, and we must all give support to, and make sure that we come with ideas, especially of making young people not to see themselves as job seekers, but equally as employers and those who can equally create opportunities for people in society. And we're also happy that we see quite a contingent number of African leaders here today, and it also gives us hope that there are also opportunities that will be open in the continent and in the region.
Beyond celebrations, Semi, people will be expecting much more than just celebrating. Whatever President Zuma is going to be saying, is going to be promising, and whatever may have been promised during election campaigns, people will be expecting that to be followed through. As young people, so what sort of help will you be lending in making sure that this country becomes a better place?
Look, I think as young people, as I've said, we have to start having a mentality that says that we are qualified, we are unemployed, but it's not only that we must look for jobs, but we must also look for other creative means that we can create jobs. And then we go to government saying that we are seeking an opportunity to be supported here in terms of finance, because we think it can create so much number of jobs. So as young people, we must not only be sitting and complaining, but we must create ways that we can complement that government is doing, especially in making sure that we dominate the private sector and we create jobs than just being job seekers.
The other interesting aspect, I mean, if you see at the Southern Lawns there, most of the people who are there are young people. So does that bode well for our country? Because generally people are saying, you know, young people are not interested in what's happening in politics, but we see them in their numbers.
I think young people are not all in politics, and they can't be all in politics. Some young people that are here to see their musicians that they aspire to be. Some of them are in other sectors of the economy, and we must not reduce young people as active in politics only. I think we'll be making a mistake. Yes, they must participate in terms of activities that decides on the future of the country, like voting, campaigns, and so on. But it will be a mistake to think that all young people must be active in politics. We must allow young people to be active in all sectors of the society, including NGOs, where it's not all about money, but it's about contributing to society and making a society a better place. We need young people to be priests, because we need young people to go and tell young people about the importance of morality and all sorts of things. So I think the presence of young people here shows the confidence in the government to still continue to give them hope, and as a opportunity platform they can still rely on to grow in any means.
No, Semi, what about the view that many of them have this entitlement, they feel entitled?
Look, I think it's a challenge that is there in the leadership of young people to make sure that we campaign new ideas and be the first ones to fight that mentality if it exists, and making sure that people believe that they need to work, and they believe that they need to be creative, and believe that nobody owes them anything at all times, but they need to make sure that they become better people and make help to all those who cannot afford, especially in the rural areas where we still have quite a number of challenges.
Thank you very much, Semi. That was Semi Mashita, one of the leaders of young people here in South Africa. And of course, we are seeing the leaders, they are coming now. We've just seen the leader from Tanzania, and earlier on, President Goodluck Jonathan. You know that Nigeria is currently in the spotlight because of those abductions and the kidnappings that are happening in that part of the world, and those bombings by Boko Haram. And it's one of those things that Africa needs perhaps to come together and put their heads and decide as a continent for them to advance. What is it that they need to do? I mean, we also see Burundi, you know, at some stage, this was a country which was having difficulties. It's getting better, and whilst the other countries are getting better, we see this kind of difficulties in other countries like Nigeria. I mean, just recently, Nigeria has become the largest economy on the continent, but it's getting faced by these huge challenges. And you know that South Africa, with all its capabilities, can actually help. And we understand that there will be some discussion, maybe informal, between President Jacob Zuma, maybe later on today, and Nigeria, to talk about some of these things, the militancy and some of these terrorist activities that we see recurring on the African continent. I mean, as we speak now, the CAR is, I mean, it can be described as a failed state. We know the challenges in South Sudan. We've seen President Salva Kiir also arriving. We know South Africa is heavily involved. The deputy president of the ANC, who's the special envoy of South African government, is one of the people involved in trying to mediate that situation. We do see challenges in the continent, but when leaders of the continent get a chance of meeting like this, and then there is that hope that they still know that the hope of many, of millions, in fact of 1 billion people in this continent lies in their hands. It's against this background that you see this kind of activity and Africans coming together. But you know what? I can't be saying everything. I have my colleagues all over, and Vuyo is up there. Vuyo, tell us what's happening.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks, Mzwandile. Of course, the problems or the challenges, whatever you call them, facing the continent today, and how the need for heads of states to actually put their heads together at every opportunity they get to try and deal with those problems. You will have heard from our own Minister of International Relations earlier, telling us that there were some conversations between President Goodluck Jonathan and South Africans around a whole range of issues, including, of course, what is happening in Nigeria, where those girls have been abducted by Boko Haram, and how they are not so keen to sort of conduct their conversations or discussions in the media, but assuring us that something is indeed happening. Not only talking about Nigeria, of course, talking also about Kenya. You saw a couple of days ago bombs going out there once again. A tragic situation that too cannot be tolerated, because it does have the effect of dragging our continent down. Right now I'm being joined though by Tina Iboka from the International Trade and Administration Commission. Good day, Justina, how are you?
Good morning. It's a wonderful cold chilly day in Pretoria.
We've been at it for quite a while, so I've lost track of time. Let's first talk about what the Commission does.
The International Trade and Administration Commission is a commission that was set up when South Africa signed up with the World Trade Organization. So it's our responsibility to, one, protect South African businesses and jobs, as well as make sure that South Africa can trade fairly with the rest of the world.
And you're not talking about protectionism as we hate it from when, for example, the Europeans do it to us.
At some point, you must have some level of protection.
You like it when you are doing it, but you don't like it when other people are doing it.
It's our right to protect our businesses, because business people work hard, they create the jobs, and what they create in South Africa, the made in South Africa, is good for consumers. So to a large extent, that's what we do. But we also want to make sure that there is enough capacity for competition. because without competition, maybe consumers would lose out because businesses would charge whatever they want, however they want. So this is quite important.
Now, how important is it, though, for the small business person in particular, because we keep on being told that the future of our economy lies in us developing the SMME sector. What does your commission do to help that group of people?
I know that initially when you talk about the World Trade Organization, the WTO, it sounds like a scary thing. Especially a world organization that's sitting in Geneva. But at the end of the day, what we do within ITEC is our officials travel around the country to tell people and actually invite small businesses to understand what their rights are. So if somebody was investing money in a new business that is going to do something so that people don't have to import that product, we have to support that company and make sure that it is successful. Create enough space for it to compete with global companies.
So you are playing a supportive role, and South Africa should care about the fact that you exist.
Absolutely, I think so. I think sometimes people just don't know enough in terms of all the support that government has created. So if you need a product from overseas that is also being made in South Africa, but not to the extent that it's available for your business, you can then apply for a rebate and be able to bring it in. If you want protection, duties and tariffs and things like that can be created, and permits for you to bring products. We just have to support what is happening in our country. We have to protect the jobs, and we have to make sure that consumers get the products that they are looking for. And that's why every day, I think every 5 years, we vote for government to make sure that they keep up with the programs that, you know, everybody can benefit from.
Now, it's important for you to attend occasions like these. Typically, what do you do?
Besides actually networking and meeting a lot of people, you do get a moment to actually get hold of somebody that you haven't been able to get hold of in the offices, as we all are so busy, and be able to have that key conversation, you know, and make sure that things keep going. You know, part of it trying to protect the jobs in the clothing industry, in the auto industry, or any of these other industries. It's very important that we talk to key people, especially the business people in those areas, and just understand a little bit more what is happening in that sector.
It's nice to get them here because they're nice and relaxed.
They're very relaxed. So you can...
You don't need an appointment. Just
no,
grab them by the scruff of their neck and say, hey, come here.
And you can throw in a question that actually gives you some insight, so that's good.
Thanks very much for sharing your insights with us, but more importantly perhaps about the importance of your organization in our economy.
Yes, ITEC is very important and everybody must know about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tina Eboka, who is from the International Trade and Administration Commission. I did say to you earlier that we're going to try as far as we can to bring you some of the people who are here who you may think are just, you know, just cracked an invite. They don't really have any use in society. They are here just to enjoy themselves. Well, there you have it. I'll try and bring you as many as I can to come and talk to you about the sort of work they are doing and why they are here. For now, though, it's back to Mzwandile down there.
Thank you.
If you're just tuning in, the pictures that you're seeing are the arrival of various heads of state. They're the last guests that are starting to arrive, and they've come from all over the continent to watch their peer, President Jacob Zuma, inaugurated today. As we were talking a little bit earlier on, it's a reflection of the stature that South Africa enjoys across the continent. So the inauguration itself, the program is supposed to start at 11, which is about 7 minutes away, and that should run for a while, and there's great expectations from the President and his speech a little bit later on, but it's a lovely day and lots of people there on the lawns. I think about 4,000 people that are going to be watching this on big screens and being part of the festivities and the celebrations that come with such a big event. It is the pomp and ceremony that you would expect of such an important occasion, the inauguration of President Jacob Zuma as he starts his second term. And his friends, as I said, have come from many parts of the continent. And bringing you this coverage, we have our reporters on the ground who will be taking you to various parts of the Union buildings and just getting a sense of the atmosphere that's there at the moment. But as I said, a good number of guests, heads of state and prime ministers have availed themselves to witness this event. Well, let's catch up with Mzwambeja, who's there at Union Buildings, to get a sense a little bit more of what's happening there. Mzwa?
Are coming thick and fast, and of course the eldest president probably in the world, President Robert Mugabe. As you can hear that applause, that's the arrival of President Robert Mugabe. He is here, he's in town. That's an indication that it's about to get underway. You indicated, Peter, that we were just about 6 or 7 minutes away from 11 o'clock, where the official thing where everything is supposed to get started. So the arrival of President Mugabe amid that fanfare and that applause, of course, does indicate that he still commands a huge respect from Africa. And of course, I'm with the Defense Force, who will just give us an indication now that we are getting closer to the beginning of the formal program. What exactly going to be happening? Prince, we heard you earlier and indicating to us that defense has a role. Now that we're getting closer, what should we expect?
Mzwambile, what we can expect now is that there will be a national ceremonial guard which will form up in front of the main podium. And then as the president, the commander-in-chief of the National Defense Force approaches, the commander-in-chief will face the national ceremonial guard, where he will be honored with a salute, and then after that, accompanied by his service chiefs, namely the chief of SNDF, then they will proceed to the main podium. From there, the national salute of the country will be taken, and then that will be followed by what we call the fly past, which is the salute of the aircraft and the air capabilities of South Africa. In that formation, the fly past will fly from the south to the north, and we'll see a lot of capabilities of the National Defense Force flying over the sky, also paying a salute in honor of their commander-in-chief.
Thank you very much, Prince. You had the Prince telling us exactly what's going to be happening, and when I spoke about the arrival of President Mugabe and then President Museveni of Uganda also came, with his head. I think he's known for that. Uganda as well has been in the picture for quite some time, and those are countries which helped a lot to free this country, South Africa. Well, Peter, let's come back to you and continue with other proceedings.
Right, these are live pictures that are coming through to you from Union Buildings, and as we get closer and closer to the beginning of the formal proceedings of the inauguration, the last few guests are starting to arrive, and those, of course, are the heads of states and the prime ministers that are here. We have, we've just seen President Museveni of Uganda arriving with his trademark hat. He never is without his hat, much like you saw earlier on former President Kenneth Kaunda walking through, still looking fairly fit for his senior years, wearing his trademark handkerchief. And in between we saw President Mugabe, who came from Zimbabwe to also wish the president well in this inauguration. So quite a lot happening as the guests start to settle. And I noticed as well that there were quite a number of applause when President Mugabe came in. Still very popular on the continent for sometimes outspoken views, but always very independent. All right, Dr. Lechana, talk us through these guests that have come through. I think that's again an indication that Africa is very much behind South Africa.
It also shows that in Africa we have all sorts of people. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
And that's one of the ugly who's just walked in now. I think is it Gabonese president or Guinea president?
Yes, yes.
We have a lot of
Guinea.
Equatorial Guinea. Yeah, we have a lot of dictatorships. It shows that the continent still has a long way to go.
Yeah.
Museveni started off very, very good. Led a liberation movement that ousted Milton Obote in 1985. A graduate of Dar es Salaam University, a very charming man, but he has degenerated into an autocrat. You know, this war that they're waging against gays, you know, and it just shows that there's a lot of distance that we still have to travel. So when we talk of Africa rising, we need to be realistic. Yes, economically, the continent is projected to be one of the growth points in the next 3-4 years. We continue to discover a lot of minerals. And with that, we are getting international attention. People are befriending us. The Chinese are our friends. The Americans are sad that we seem to be turning more and more to the Chinese. Economically, we're well, but we need to ensure that we use that wealth in a very good way. And one of the ways of ensuring that the wealth benefits the country is through democratic institutions. If leaders know that if they don't perform, they'll be ousted, you know, there's more energy to do well. They don't become complacent. So for us to continue to have leaders who behave like Museveni, like the Equatorial president, it's a reminder that we still have a long way to go. And when we talk of Africa, we're not talking of one homogeneous continent. We're talking of a diverse continent, which has, as I said earlier, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Let's bring it back home. I mean, you know, today is a day for all South Africans, isn't it? I mean, how should we be embracing this and feeling on an occasion like this? Because it is a day we can be proud of being South African. Yes. It's one of our big celebration days.
You know, Peter, I'm always reminded of people like Voisile Mini, who was hanged in 1964. Voisile was offered a reprieve to pimp on his comrades. He was one of the MK soldiers, so that he could be spared. He refused to inform on his comrades, and he was hanged as a result of that. And he was walking towards the gallows. He was not scared. He broke into a song because he knew that his death would yield freedom. He was willing to die so that we could be free. So this is one of those moments we have to remember what preceded, what went into making this day, and also celebrate a democratic moment. I was very touched looking at people, long queues of people voting at the IEC Center as the results were coming through. This affirms our credentials as a democratic society, and it's the power of the vote. It's very powerful because it is one of the few times when politicians get over themselves, this sense of self-importance. They come to us. We are in charge. They humble themselves. Most of the time, they don't give a damn, right? But when they know that they need our votes, they show up. This is where we get to remind them that we are in charge. We elect you to represent us. And they get reminded themselves that if they don't do well, people turn their back at them. They walk away. And people have been walking away from the ruling party. It remains strong at 62, but they are walking away because they are saying you're not honoring the promise of freedom. You're not doing what your mandate, what we expect of you. So democracy is an affirmation that the people are in charge.
And today's a day of information.
Yes,
We're going to have to leave it again for the time being, but we'll continue our conversation. We're almost starting the official proceedings, and to start us in that process is Mzwai Mbeje. Mzwai?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Tobeka Zuma. Welcome Ms. Ngema Zuma.
About to make the entrance. It's back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Mantuli Zuma.
Well, the president's wife making their way into where we are at the amphitheater over here. They will, of course, be followed by former President Thabo Mbeki and his partner, as well as the outgoing Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe and his wife Gugu. The Chief Justice Mogoeng and his partner, as well as Defense Force generals, and so. You're watching the SABC. This is a live broadcast from the Union Buildings, where President Jacob Zuma will be sworn in about an hour's time or so. Lots of people have gathered here, members of the diplomatic corps, heads of all government entities, parastatals, government departments. The entire cabinet is here. Several heads of state, about 40 or so. King Mswati is the one arriving now. He's the head of state arriving now. The pictures that you are seeing there. The country within, Swaziland. King Mswati there greeting President Mugabe and the First Ladies, exchanging pleasantries as well. Former President Thabo Mbeki is the one arriving now. A very big round of applause. one of the loudest, alongside that of Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. Well, the outgoing Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe and his wife Gugu are walking in. Well, if you missed it, I'm sure you missed it because we were not on that. We just saw former President Mbeki and Winnie Mandela, a warm embrace and a kiss.
Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we request that you kindly
the outgoing Deputy President. As we all know, a new cabinet will be announced tomorrow afternoon sometime. President Jacob Zuma will be announcing his cabinet that is going to take forward his agenda and implement it over the next for the next 5 years. That agenda, of course, we have already been told, will be anchored deeply and widely within and around the National Development Plan. The Chief Justice, Mogoeng, with his wife, he is making his way through. He will, of course, be officiating. He's the one who will be swearing in President Jacob Zuma a little later on. He's had a busy week. He was in Parliament during the week, swearing in members of both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. He's the first person to take his seat at the podium. He will be taking care of all the proceedings. Well, the official proceedings are about to start. In fact, they will be starting any time from now, because once the Guard of Honor and the Army Ceremonial Band, who you are looking at right now, as well as the Army Gun Troops who are being deployed now, once they have taken position, President-elect Jacob Zuma and his spouse will arrive, and then the Defense Force and the police generals will get a short opportunity to greet them. Thereafter, they will all take their positions and then lead the president and his spouse to the podium, where Justice Mogoeng is at the moment. And then the official presidential inauguration will begin as soon as everyone has taken position, including, of course, President Jacob Zuma. So we are literally minutes before the official program begins. And just to take you through that program very, very briefly, once the inauguration program or proceedings begin, we'll have an interfaith. We'll have interfaith prayers, and then we'll have the chaplain of the Defense Force saying a prayer as well. And then, since this is an official ceremony, the Defense Force does, of course, play a significant role. We then will have a recital of the preamble of the South African Constitution, after which the program directors, Jesse Duarte and Jeff Radebe, will ask or invite Justice Mogoeng to swear in President Jacob Zuma.
What are we going to do?
Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching the SABC. This is a live broadcast from the Union Buildings in Pretoria, where the swearing-in of President-elect Jacob Zuma is due to take place any time from now. The people you're seeing there are all the dignitaries who have been invited to come and be part of this celebration. Among them, heads of state, diplomats from all corners of the world, cabinet ministers from South Africa and other African heads of state, members of the business community in South Africa, organized labor, civil society, and further down from where we are, you have scores, literally thousands of South Africans who are standing by waiting to be part of this ceremony through big screens where all the proceedings here are being beamed, but also, of course, as soon as the formal proceedings end, they will get an opportunity to be part of the fun, as several artists have been lined up. I will be giving you a sense of the lineup a little later on. For those who are close to the Union Buildings, you are being invited to come over and be part of the fun that's going to take place down there. I will give you a lineup, tell you who is who among the artists who have been invited to perform here this afternoon. Right now, though, as we speak, we're all waiting for the President-elect Jacob Zuma to come through, after which members of the Defense Force will take their positions, and the two people are co-chairing this particular event, Jesse Duarte, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, as well as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Jeff Radebe. They will then ask the Chief Justice, Mogoeng, to begin with the formal proceedings, the swearing-in of President-elect Jacob Zuma, that is. This is the SABC. President Jacob Zuma will, of course, get an opportunity to address the nation, the gathering here, and the people down there, just to give him a sense of what, where his mind is, the things that are topmost in his mind, and as it is customary, he will, I'm sure, take an opportunity to thank them for having put him where he is right now, which is right there as the chief servant of the people of South Africa. Just going through his political biography that has been prepared by the presidency, it does look like he's got quite a lot of work to do. Well, in fact, we didn't need this political biography to actually tell us that. We know that very well, but of course, as to how he intends tackling it, and perhaps more importantly, how he intends rallying the nation to make sure that together we do the sort of things that we need to do as a nation, that he will begin today to sort of give us some indication of the direction he intends taking. But I think more he will do that more substantively during that State of the Nation address that's going to take place in Cape Town in a couple of weeks' time. But certainly from where the presidency sits, the implementation of the National Development Plan is the one program that will help move the country closer to our cherished vision of a truly united, non-sexist, non-racial, democratic and prosperous South Africa. And in case you've missed it, we did tell you a little earlier on that President Jacob Zuma, as soon as he's done here, it's back to work for him, because he has to announce his cabinet tomorrow, something I'm sure he has given a lot of thought to, and he should have a fair sense by now as to who he's going to place where and so on. But the formal announcement of the cabinet will be made tomorrow afternoon, and of course the SABC will be bringing you that announcement live tomorrow. It's just that we do not have the exact time as things stand. Well, the president has indeed arrived. The president-elect of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, has arrived, so he should be walking up the red carpet as soon as those cars stop, and with that will begin the formal proceedings led by the Chief Justice, Judge Mogoeng.
Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the generals from the South African National Defence Force, led by General Shoke, and the South African Police Services, led by General Piecha, will now take their designated positions as we await the arrival of the President and his spouse. Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, can we be upstanding and a warm round of applause as we welcome onto the podium His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma, and his wife, Mrs. Zuma. Mr. President, distinguished guests, we invite the Chaplain General to commence with the interfaith prayers. Chaplain General of the South African National Defence Force, Brigadier General Monwabisi Andrew Jamangile, will invite the rest of the clergy. You may be seated.
The President of the South African Council of Churches, Bishop Zipho Siwa.
Let us pray. Dear God of life, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we give you thanks to you for this special occasion of the inauguration of your servant, His Excellency Mr. Jacob Zuma, as the President of the Republic of South Africa. It is with gratitude that we are able to exercise our democracy in a peaceful and dignified manner. And now, Lord of life, we pray that you lead us to peace, justice, and dignity. We pray for the President and his executive and all who have authority and influence, that they may serve their fellow citizens and all those who are in this beautiful country with wisdom, honesty, integrity, and compassion. Grant our President good health, discerning ear and mind, as well as courage to lead without fear or favor, so that all people of South Africa may live in safety, honor one another, and seek the common good. Lord, in your mercy, we ask that you hear these our prayers, which we offer to you in the name of our crucified Messiah, the risen Lord, and the ascended Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
The President of the South African Hindu Sabha, Pandit Ashwin Trakamji.
Let us close our eyes and pray and think of the Lord. Om Bhura Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodaya Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivartanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Rutyo Mukshiyamamritat. O Lord, you are the creator, you are the sustainer, and you are the destroyer. You are also the dispenser of mercy and blessings. We ask you, Lord, to bestow your choicest blessings today on our President and the people of our beautiful country as we celebrate a very important day in the lives of South Africans. We ask you to bless this inauguration, bless our President, bless his cabinet and his executive and all those in authority who rule this country with the choicest blessings. Lord, your blessings will enable our honorable President to serve this country and to make life a better place for all of us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Deputy Principal of Pretoria Islamic Education Center, Maulana Mohammed Ismail Hazavi.
Let us pray. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم احفظ أمير جنوب أفريقيا الرئيس جيكوب زوما وأسرته من كل بلاء الدنيا. اللهم انصره ورفقاءه لإقامة العدل والأمن وحسن العمل. اللهم اجعل بلدنا بلدا آمنا ورابحا بين بلاد العالم يا رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
African religion, Dr. Nokzolam Dende.
Masicamakusheni siyacama kusha kuqamata umudzimu umvelinqangi sisithi siyabulela ngale mpumelelo namhlanje yokubeka kukabawo umsholozi. Kuyacaca ukuba igazi labo bafa besilwelwa lenkululeko zange liphalalele lize kwaye sicela kana njalo ukuba sekuhlale kunje unomphelo. Ewe kaloku nakwelinye yakwelityeli igama kulivumile kuba nolu unyulo luqhubekeke ngoxolo. Into engqinayo ukuba ngenene nenyani urholihlahla umadibo omde ufike kumanyange wangenisa ibhunga njengodala ibhunga kakade wathi tshotsho nibekho nam ndifikile ngoku kuzawuqhawuka unobathanga. Siyabacela kananjalo sithi mabakhe balidaba elitsha elitsarha umzi untsundu, idabi lokuqhithulwa kudlwengulwe kubulawe abantu ababhinqileyo, abantu abangakwazi ukuzikhusela. Kaloku iqungu lidala imikhuba, lidala itshabalalo, lifuna ukukhafulwa. Siyathemba ukusukela namhlanje sizawukhafula iqungu. iAfrika mayibuye camagwini.
The Chaplain General, South African National Defence Force. The Lord said, lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see, I give it to you. Most gracious God, God in whom our souls take delight, this day we come before you, interceding Jacob Gezeihlekisa Zuma, the president of our country, who has been elected to the highest office of our nation, a servant the Lord has sought out after his own heart and appointed him as leader of his people. We heartily beseech you at this moment that he may incline to your will. Bless him to nail his colors to mast the advancement of your glory and welfare of our nation. How blessed we are this morning that God accomplishes what God starts. What God promises, God performs. What God declares, God delivers. What God begins, God completes. God bless the President of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Gezeihlekisa Zuma. Amen.
Thank you for the interfaith prayers. Mr. President, the Chief Rabbi also sends his blessings to your inauguration.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, Your Majesties, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we now invite Ms. Tulufela Mamokhale, a learner from Pretoria High School for Girls, to read the preamble of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa.
We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who have suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by the law. Improve the quality of life for all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. Inkosi sigalele Africa. Mborana buluka sechaba sa Jesu. God sin South Africa. God bless South Africa. Muzimu fatuchetza Africa. Hosi katekisa Africa.
Thank you very much, Tulufelo. We now invite the Honourable Chief Justice to proceed with the swearing in of the President.
Mr. President, I invite you to come and take the oath of office. Please repeat the oath of office after me. In the presence of everyone assembled here.
In the presence of everyone assembled here.
And in full realization of the high calling I assume.
And in the full realization of the high calling I assume.
As President of the Republic of South Africa.
As President of the Republic of South Africa.
I, Jacob Gezeihlekisa Zuma, swear.
I, Jacob Gezeihlekisa Zuma, swear
that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
That I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
And will obey.
And will obey.
Observe. Uphold. And maintain the Constitution.
And maintain the Constitution.
And all other law of the Republic.
And all other law of the Republic.
And I solemnly.
And
sincerely promise.
That
I will always.
Promote
all that will advance the Republic. And oppose all that may harm it. Protect and promote.
protect and promote
the rights of all South Africans,
the right of all South Africans,
discharge my duties
with
all my strength and talents,
to
the best of my knowledge and ability, and true to the dictates of my conscience. Do justice to all. And devote myself to the well-being. Of the Republic and all its people. Please raise your right hand, Mr. President, and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
We will now proceed to the final stage of this process, and that is the signing of the certificate. You'll be the first to sign, Mr. President. Okay. And as you do, your hand must be on this Holy Bible. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Mr. President, please proceed to the designated position to acknowledge the salute. Please rise for the national anthem.
The salute flypast consists of 3 helicopter types, namely an Oryx, a BK-117, and a light utility helicopter from the different squadrons of the Air Force. The leader of this formation today is Captain Pokela from the 17th Squadron, with Major Achana and Major Zungu commanding the other helicopters. All aircrafts today in the MAS 5+ will approach from the north, which is from the overhead, the large telecom tower, at various speeds, heights, and at approximately 40 seconds apart. The first formation, as it is approaching in this flypast, called sign Chopper, it is led by Lieutenant Colonel Muritsi and Major Van Royal, consists of helicopters from various helicopter squadrons and bases around South Africa, flying at around 70 knots, which is 150 kilometers per hour, namely the BK-117, the Augusta A109, the Oryx, and the Roy Falk. The next formation, call sign Pointer, is led by Major Price and Captain Palatse, which consists of a Dakota C4 7TP from the 35 Squadron at the AFP Eysterplat, the Pilatus P612, and Cessna Caravans flying at 120 knots. The Dakotas are utilized for transport and marine operations and have been on loyal service for over 50 years. The Pilatus PC-12 and the Cessna Caravans are from the 41 Squadron based at AFP Waterkloof. These are all light transport aircraft.
The next formation is the largest formation today, call sign Astra and led by Majors Berger and Erasmus. Consists of 22 Pilatus PC-7 MK2s, including the Silver Falcons aircraft. 3 additional aircraft are formed up behind the 20. The formation will pass overhead at 180 knots and in the shape of a 20 to symbolize the 20 years of democracy being celebrated in South Africa this year. The aircraft are from the Central Flying School at Air Force Base Langebaanweg, where pilots
The next formation consists of Hercules C-130s, which is led by Lieutenant Colonel Gori and Major Zama, a female pilot, Amakosikazi, who is flying that aircraft. These aircrafts are the backbone of the South African Air Force medium transport capability. Call sign Jumbo, the formation will fly past at 180 knots. The Hercules is a true workhorse in support of the South African National Defence Force operation, is a very rugged and versatile transporter, making it ideal for operations around the continent in a number of roles.
The next formation consists of the Boeing business jet, which is the presidential jet, a Falcon 50 and a Falcon 900 from 21 Squadron, which is the South African Air Force VIP Transportation Squadron based at Air Force Base Waterkloof. Call sign BBJ and led by Lieutenant Colonel van Skalkwyk, Major Chetty and Major Mukwena. The formation will fly past at 250 knots. The navigator today is Major van Niekerk, a woman. These aircraft traverse the world in support of national diplomacy. The aircraft are escorted by the 2 Gripen fighter aircraft from 2 Squadron based at Air Force Base Makado.
The next formation consists of 5 Hawks from 85 Combat Flying School at Makado Air Base in Limpopo. The lead aircraft is painted in our national colors, flown by Lieutenant Colonel Labuskachne, and is surrounded by camouflaged aircraft symbolizing the South African National Defense Force, protecting our country, protecting our nation. The aircraft will also fly at 350 knots. They are utilized for the training of fighter pilots to get them combat ready and prepared.
The next formation consists of Gripen aircraft from 2 Squadron at Air Force Base Makado in Limpopo. The Gripen is the frontline fighter aircraft of the South African Air Force, capable of traveling faster than the speed of sound, protecting our airspace and the national interests of the country. The formation today is led by the officer commanding Lieutenant Colonel Mbokota. 2 squadrons served with the distinction in Korea in the 1950s and earned the motto, the Flying Cheetahs, and continues the proud heritage into the future. The Gripen fighter is capable of carrying out all fighter roles in a single mission due to a highly integrated onboard weapon system and is highly deployable and well suited to the African battle space.
That is the might of the South African National Defense Force, in particular the Air Force. Mr. President, the generals, we may now return to our seats. Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor and pleasure to invite, fresh from the box, brand new President of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, to address the nation. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. You are directors of the program, Your Majesties, the kings from different countries and queens, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, former President Thabo Mbeki, and your best half, and all former heads of state and government. Deputy President of the Republic, Kgalema Motlanthe, Chairperson of the African Union, and of the AU Commission, distinguished representatives of respective countries and of international organizations, the presiding officers of Parliament, the Chief Justice of the Republic, ministers, premiers, deputy ministers, MECs, mayors, members of parliament and legislatures, leaders of political parties, religious and traditional leaders, representatives of business, sports, media, and the entertainment sector, ambassadors and high commissioners, veterans of our struggle, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow South African, I greet you all. I am greatly honored to stand before you today to accept the mandate bestowed upon us by millions of our people to lead this great nation for the next 5 years. I accept this responsibility and privilege with great humility, given the history of our country and where we come from as a nation. Ours is a nation that has produced generations of selfless freedom fighters who made untold sacrifices so that we could live in a country that is free of racial discrimination and oppression. This is a nation that has worked tirelessly to build a new society from the ashes of apartheid, opting for reconciliation and progress instead of retribution. This year, we mark 20 years of freedom and 20 years since President Nelson Mandela took the oath of office at this very amphitheater. We began building a new society based on fundamental human rights, equality, unity and diversity, and the promotion of the dignity of all. The democratic government set out to implement policies and programs that would change the quality of life of all, especially the poor and workers. A lot of progress has been made. Millions of our people now have access to basic social services and an improved quality of life, which they did not enjoy before the dawn of freedom. Today, we wish to acknowledge the contribution of every South African to the process of renewal, reconstruction, and development of this country in the past 20 years of freedom. It is through your hard work that we are able to count so many achievements in only 20 years of freedom. However, our work is not yet completed. Last year, we conducted a frank, formal review of progress made in the past 20 years of democratic rule. The review indicated that South Africa is a much better place to live in now than before 1994 due to the transformative policies of our democratic government. At the same time, the review also confirmed that while the lives of millions of people have improved, poverty, inequality, and unemployment still persist. The vessel of the legacy of apartheid colonialism will require more intense efforts from all South Africans. we have successfully completed the first phase of our transformation. Today marks the beginning of the second phase of our transition from apartheid to a national democratic society. This second phase will involve the implementation of radical social economic transformation. Policies and programs over the next 5 years. We have already placed before the nation the National Development Plan, our roadmap which outlines the type of society we envisage by the year 2030. Through this program, we will move South Africa forward to prosperity and success. At a social level, as outlined in the National Development Plan, our vision is to develop communities where households will have access to housing, water, electricity, sanitation, safe and reliable public transport, health, education, security, recreational facilities, a clean environment, and adequate nutrition, to count a few. Economic transformation will take center stage during this new term of government. As we put the economy on an inclusive growth path, as the National Development Plan outlines, the structure of the economy will be transformed through industrialization, broad-based black economic empowerment, and through strengthening and expanding the role of the state in the economy. State-owned enterprises and development finance institutions will become engines of development, complementing the state in promoting inclusive economic growth. We have made some progress in changing the ownership and control of the economy, but much more work must still be done. In this regard, we'll improve the implementation of the employment equity and black economic empowerment laws during this term. Land restitution and redistribution and other forms of empowerment will also be better executed in the new term of government. Our economic transformation program also reaffirms our commitment to promoting local companies, entrepreneurs and cooperatives from local procurement by the state and its agencies. The National Development Plan also prioritizes the National Infrastructure Development Program. We will continue to build schools, railways, ports, universities, clinics, colleges, power stations, broadband, roads, and more infrastructure around the country. This program will continue to be the flagship of government. The end result of all these transformative economic programs is a growing inclusive economy which creates jobs and provides opportunities for all, especially the youth. With regards to safety and security, our vision is to ensure that by 2030, people living in South Africa should feel completely safe at home, at school, and at work at any given time. Compatriots, to enable us to achieve these key objectives, the performance of the state will need to improve. Key targets in this regard will be to eradicate corruption and efficiency and inefficiency in the public service. We will promote productivity within the public service and ensure much tighter accountability with firm consequences where there is a failure to deliver services to our people. Compatriots, we have a lot of work to do. We'll need the backing of a united and cohesive nation behind us as we move South Africa forward. In this regard, government will promote nation-building programs to rebuild the soul of our nation. Many South Africans still bear the emotional scars arising from decades of apartheid divisions and hatred. Therefore, the national healing and reconciliation process has to continue. We will work together to promote unity, understanding, and tolerance across race and color lines as we build a South Africa that truly belongs to all. Your Excellencies, our country will also continue to play its role in the continent and abroad. Our vision is that of a South Africa that is a key promoter and contributor to sustainable development, democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and peace within the continent. We will continue to champion African growth, development, and prosperity through supporting regional integration, intra-Africa trade, and the development of infrastructure. Our participation in various multilateral institutions such as the United Nations, G20, and special forums such as BRICS will continue, aimed at promoting a fairer and more just world. Your Excellencies, let me again express my deep gratitude as I accept this mandate. We do not take this confidence bestowed upon us lightly. We are truly humbled and will do all in our power to build a South Africa in which all citizens will have a sense of belonging and hope for a brighter future. We invite all our people to work with us as as we implement the National Development Plan. I hereby commit the 5th democratically elected administration to serve our people with humility, commitment, and dedication. We will strive to build a caring society and to be an administration that will serve our people with courtesy, ubuntu, and efficiency. The road ahead is long and demanding. The challenges ahead may seem insurmountable, but we are determined to succeed, as we have always succeeded in our efforts to overcome challenges. We must succeed in honor of Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Dorothy Nyembe, Solomon Mahlangu, Bram Fischer, and indeed all our illustrious leaders who laid the foundation for a non-racial, non-sexist, united and prosperous South Africa. Bantu bakithi iningizimu Afrika siyayibonga kakhulu ukusihlonipha okungaka. Siyathembisa ukuthi uhulumeni omusha uzosebenza ngokukhulu ukuzikhandla elungisa izimpilo zabo bonke abantu, ikakhulukazi abampofu kanye nezimpabanga nabasebenzi. Masibambisaneni siqhubele iningizimu Afrika phambili. Together, let us move South Africa forward. Rialeboeg. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Mr. President, we invite you to go back to the designated position to acknowledge the final compliments. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, please rise for the national anthem. Please be seated.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, flying with the South African Airways aircraft, information are the Silver Falcons aerobatic team of the South African Air Force. That aircraft, ladies and gentlemen, that has just passed by is an Airbus 340-600. It is designed for long-haul flying, and South African Airways has it configured to carry 317 passengers in 2 classes, premium class and economy. It is powered by 4 Rolls-Royce Trent 500 series engines, delivering about 60,000 pounds of thrust per engine. The fuel usage is 8,000 kilograms of fuel an hour, and the aircraft fuel tanks have a capacity of approximately 150,000 kgs. The second flypass is the Silver Falcons, who have now broken away from the Airbus, who are forming and will do a complementary pass from the right to left. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Silver Falcons that are coming now. The third flypass is also a South African Airbus, has positioned to the east and will do a complementary pass from left to right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Airbus from South African Airways. For your information, the crew is Captain Sandy Benz, a woman, acting chief pilot and head of flight operations. Captain Piri Hose, senior training captain, and senior first officer Arthur Paswane.
We thank you very much. Mr. President, please take your seat. Thank you very much. Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please rise as His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Zuma and Mrs. Zuma, take their leave. Your Majesties, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You may now be seated.
We will now invite Deputy President Montante, Mrs. Montante, and the spouses to President Zuma to proceed to the Criterion Estates. Jesse, it has been a very pleasure to be with you this morning.
Thank you very much, and the same to you, Jeff.
We've been standing here from 7:50 a.m., so we don't have to go to the treadmill for 1 week, I'm sure. But let's thank everybody. I know many guests here have been up from about 4 a.m. Thank you for your patience in all this deliberation that has taken place in this very auspicious occasion. We now hand over to the Director General in the Presidency and the Secretary of Cabinet, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, to facilitate the departure of distinguished guests to the lunch venues. From us, adio.
Thank you very much and goodbye.
We can do chukucha downstairs in the lawn now.
Well, sincere apologies there for a bit of a technical glitch in our sound. But coming back to Mr. Manenza. Mr. Manenza, I don't know which part where they lost us, but let me start again by saying congratulations are in order on your appointment as the Chief Pilot of South African Airways.
Thank you for your thanks to SABC.
to depart
Well,
for the presidential luncheon
how many years in service? 30 or so?
They will be followed by the
just over
Speaker of the
20
National Assembly
in the
and the
industry 30 years.
Chairperson of the National Council of
It
Provinces.
must feel good to be the first black chief pilot of South African Airways in the same year that we are celebrating 20 years of democracy.
It is symbolic indeed, Vuyo. It's a good feeling for me. I think it's a good feeling for my colleagues as well, generally at SAA and in the industry as well.
And what does your job entail?
It entails coordinating the activities of flight operations in particular to ensure that our strategy is aligned with that of the company itself.
Now, the display by South African Airways that we just saw now after the swearing in of President Zuma, take us through the preparation that goes into something like that.
The preparations began about a week ago or so, and it all started in our simulators back in Johannesburg, which is where we are based. And the guys had a lot of dry runs in the simulator itself, where they simulated the conditions pretty much close to what we have today. And so all was done back in Johannesburg, and eventually they had one or two actual runs before this today. So it's a combination of a lot of exercise and practices.
And it has to be very precise because, if an accident was to happen up there, it will be a disaster. It would mar this whole occasion.
Vuyo, you're right, there is no room for error. Everything has to be precise. Everything has to be to the second at the end of the day.
Now, the whole point of the exercise, was it a display of the capabilities of South African Airways pilots, or was it just, sheer entertainment value?
Both. First of all, the display of our capabilities, display of our equipment, but also the entertaining the people of South Africa as well. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to do that.
And South Africans, I'm sure, would have been, proud. It was a wonderful display.
It was brilliant. I'm sure I could see the reaction of the people. They were thrilled, which as South African Airways, we're very, very proud.
You did work together with the South African National Defence Force, isn't it?
That is quite correct. It was a coordinated effort from South African Airways and the Air Force itself.
Well, let me thank you very much for joining us and wish you all the best on your future endeavors, especially the responsibility that South African Airways has given you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Well, the chief pilot, the newly appointed chief pilot of South African Airways, taking us through both his job, his responsibilities, the new task that he's been entrusted with, but also taking us through the sort of work that goes into something like we saw a short while ago when they were flying past South African Airways pilots, really demonstrating their capabilities. Well, joining me now is General Mabanga, who is from the South African National Defence Force. Well, once again, a proud and good display. South Africans must be proud of the work you put into bringing us the kind of display that we saw. Well coordinated, very precise. Everything went according to plan.
Definitely, job well done. Congratulations to all women and men who have been behind the planning as well as the execution of such a wonderful and spectacular event. We also would like to seize that opportunity to thank the public or the people of South Africa for affording us that opportunity to do what we do best and to give us that space.
Now, do your pilots have to train and retrain and keep on practicing and rehearsing all the time, or is it a question of these people know how to do it, they've been doing it for a very long time, so we wait for the next inauguration or the next opening of Parliament and they just come and do it again, maybe a rehearsal or two, or is it constant training and rehearsal?
Well, in accordance to the air regulations, to be a pilot you have to constantly fly. And you have to fly certain hours at least for a month. So it's a continuous flying exercise or activity that they do. Then when it comes to displays, they have to do some rehearsals prior to that in order to coordinate and affirm the timings and the space that they have to do.
General, let me thank you very much, because as we speak, the President has arrived there to greet the thousands of South Africans who are wishing him luck and who have come here to celebrate with him, and an event that has been crowned, of course, by the spectacular display that both South African Airways and the South African National Defence Force put out there. Well, let's cross over now to the lawns, where President Jacob Zuma is about to address the crowds that have gathered there. Maybe a point to make to those at home. I did say earlier that we were going to give you a sense of the lineup down there. I will not be able to do that anymore. The reason is simple. We have just been told that the place is full. The place cannot take any more people who may want to come and join the thousands that have gathered there already. So it's filled to capacity. No other people will be allowed in. So without much ado, let me go to the lawns where President Jacob Zuma is standing by to address the masses who have gathered there. Let's hear from the Minister of Arts and Culture, who is one of the conveners of what you are seeing there. There he goes.
Hi, President. Hi, President. Hi, President. Siyabonga. Sanbonane. Dumelang. Inhlikani mifukile. Demasiare. Are you happy? Siyabonga kakhulu. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate our newly elected president, President Gedlehlekis Zuma. On your behalf, I want to say, President Siyakuhalalelisa, we wish you well as you lead us in the next 5 years. I'm now going to call the President to come and greet you. Are you ready? Fellow South Africans, I now invite our newly elected President Jacob Zuma to come and greet you. Halala, President Zuma, halala. Halala, President Zuma, halala. O President akahambi yedwa, uhamba no mama wethu. Umam Zuma naye ukhona, siyambulisa naye. Thank you very much, President.
Sanbonane. Dumelang. Absheni. Ninjani niyaphila? Hayi niyabonakala. Nibahle. Thank you very much indeed. We know that our amphitheater is not big enough to take the numbers. But of course you are here. It is in the Union buildings here. Thank you very much for coming to be with us today as we take the oath for the next 5 years. In the last few weeks, in the number of weeks, we were all over the country campaigning as we engage in democratic elections. And finally, the people of this country made their choice emphatically. to give the ANC once again the opportunity to govern the country. A few days ago, we were in the parliament wherein members of parliament were sworn in as full new members of parliament. Today, we're taking the oath as mandated by the overwhelming majority of this country. We are happy that you are with us here. Siyajabula ukuthi nikhona nifike ngeinkani. Nizwile ke into esiyishilo lapha ngenkathi sikhuluma nezwe, sikhuluma nabantu bakithi. Kulesigaba esikusona senkululeko njengoba uANC enikezwa ihlandla lesihlanu ukuba abe nguhulumeni, sithathe inqumo ezihambisana nenqumo esayithatha kwi-policy conference na kwi-national conference yokuthi sizoyishintsha impilo yabantu bakithi. Sathi kwi-policy conference, we are going to engage in the radical transformation of our economic activities kuze sishintshe impilo yabantu bakithi. Isikhathi ke lesi lapho sizokwenza lokho esihlale sikusho. Ningathuki uma sithatha inqumo ezinzima engajwayelekile. Sobe sikwenza egameni lenu hayi kwela abanye abantu. Sithatha isifungo sokuthi esithe sizokwenza sizokwenza. Labo abazokhethwa ukuthi basebenze umsebenzi kahulumeni, sifuna bonke basebenze njengokulindelekileyo. Labo abahlulekayo noma abagajwe ubuvila sizobagudluza sibeka abakhutheleyo. Ngoba sifuna ukusheshisa izinto kulo 5 years. Sizokhulisa i-economy ezomnotho ngesivinini ukuze sishintshe impilo zabantu zibe ngcono. Asizi ukusaba umuntu, asizi ukuba namahloni. Sizokwenza lokhu esithe sizokwenza nasivotela. Ngizogcizelela lokho nje ukunibonga ukuthi ukufika kwenu ngobuningi benu nize lapha kuzogcotshwa umongameli namhlanje. Siyakujabulela kakhulu. We are very happy that you are here. This is your government. And we have made a call that we must work together. Sebenze ngokubambisana. Ukubuyisana. Sibambane sibe yizwe elibumbene. Ngoba uma sihlangene siyoba namandla okunqoba inselelo esibhekene nazo. If we are united, we will be more stronger to overcome the challenges we are faced with. Siyanibonga kakhulu bakwethu. Kumnandi ukunibona nibaningi kangaka. Sijabulela ukuqhubeka nokuqina kombuso wentando yeningi, i-democracy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Siyabonga. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. I'm going to ask Deputy Minister Communication, Comrade Stella, to come and do a vote of thanks. Ngoba President fane ayohlangana nabanye the heads of states abakhona ngithi. So we can't stay too long. Kodwa siyajabula ukuba nani Deputy Minister.
Ayeye Jacob Zuma ayeye. Hey Mzansi Eita. Program Director, let me take this opportunity firstly as the first former Deputy Minister to congratulate President Zuma on his re-election for the second term. Indeed, President Zuma, asina mahloni ngawe. As the youth of this country and the elders, we are proud to say we are led indeed. On behalf of the South African government and on behalf of President Zuma, let me take this opportunity to thank you, fellow South Africans, for making this day a reality. Without you, we wouldn't be celebrating today. But because of the faith and the commitment that you have in the African National Congress, so that we can move South Africa forward, you made sure that indeed President Zuma comes back as the president of the ANC in government. For that, we thank you. Thank you, Program Director. Now, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to join us. As you know that we are celebrating. We've got lots of music. I'm sure you've seen lots of our artists.
We've just had President Jacob Zuma thanking thousands of people who had come to witness this occasion. Of course, I was not alone. I was with my colleagues who were down there at the South Lawns, Criselda Lewis, and of course, Yolisan Jamela. We thank you very much. We were very happy to be part of this occasion, and we hope there at home you also were able to participate and enjoy. And of course, I will take you to Vuyo to wrap things up. Vuyo?
Well, thanks very much to Mzwandile and, of course, the colleagues she mentioned, but perhaps more importantly, or most importantly, thanks to you for watching. Do remember that for news on what took place today, do watch our evening bulletins, and don't forget also that tomorrow President Jacob Zuma will announce his new cabinet. We will be there. It's just that we do not have confirmed times at the moment, but we understand it will be in the afternoon sometime, and we hope to bring you that live from the Union Buildings, which is where I am right now, which is where the announcement will be made tomorrow. From me, it's a goodbye for now.
Vuyo, thank you very much indeed, and our thanks to the team that's been covering this very auspicious occasion, the inauguration of President Jacob Zuma. He is now President of South Africa for the next 5 years, and he said quite a bit in his speech. I think a lot of it we kind of anticipated, and he first of all started by saying thank you very much indeed for the confidence that you've shown in me and confidence that you've shown in our government, and that yes, a lot of things have happened, a lot of good has happened in the past, but there's still a lot of work to do. And as we start to wrap things up, maybe a final word from Dr. Nlechana. Thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast. And I just wonder if you could just sort of wrap up this speech. I mean, he sort of says thank you. He says we've got a lot of work to do, and the National Development Plan seems to be the thing that it's all going to pin up on.
Yes, well, firstly, it looks like the interpreter knew what she was doing, which was a good thing. To say that a lot remains to be done. Initially, I felt that the speech was a bit flat. The president didn't look joyous. He was being inaugurated for the second term, but I didn't see him coming through. It was a standard speech, I must say, for an occasion like this. I didn't get a sense that there was a theme that he was talking about, or that around which he framed his speech. But he also managed to get some useful details through, especially the issue of socio-economic transformation, BEE, for instance, and that there are certain things, the backlogs that we still have, people who use the bucket system, for instance, people who are poor, people who without jobs. So the positive thing, there may have been a little bit too much detail for an occasion like this, especially because we've just come out of an election, so you don't need too many details. We've heard all of that. But the useful details, of course, is to highlight the plight of poor people, a lot of stuff that has to be done. And in fact, for me, the second part of his speech where he was addressing the masses, you know, the ultimate vanguards of the democratic revolution.
We'll get to that now, but I did get a sense, though, that he was calling the nation to come together, because he kept on saying, you know, together we can move South Africa forward. That seemed to be a bit of a mantra that came through. I mean, you know, is it the moment that we set our differences aside and hear the president and say, look, if we get together, we can make a difference as a collective?
Well, yes, that has been the theme. That has been the ANC theme for the elections. And the ANC, that's the defining element about the ANC, unifying the nation. And it might not get enough kudos, but it's very important to continue emphasizing that point. And if you see at the crowd there, most of them are black, you know, and yet we claim to be a rainbow nation. So the theme was quite important for him to say. And of course, remind us of our founding father who passed away recently, Nelson Mandela, and that we owe a debt to icons like this to continue on the path.
All right, and he also, as we speculated earlier, that he did mention the continent, and he mentioned again that the commitment that South Africa has towards democracy, human rights, and so on and so forth, right across the continent. So that was expected, and it came through?
That was expected. There's no surprise there. South Africa still has to do more. The AU is a very useful instrument. We didn't do well when we were contesting for the AU position. A lot of enemies were made and there was a lot of tension. I think Zuma has acquitted herself quite well to restore relationships that were broken as a result of that. So we need to strengthen our institutions and ensure that Africa does realize her promise.
Then he did move outside onto the lawns to speak to the masses, if I can choose that as a word to describe, you know, the people on the ground. He had a slightly different message for them, but again, he started by thanking everyone for showing confidence again in his government.
Yes, he was a lot more relaxed, a lot more, his true self came out. And of course, these are, as I was saying earlier, these are the ultimate vanguards of our democratic revolution. They are there to claim the moment, and it's always nice when he goes there to acknowledge that. And he was a lot more frank. If you are not sure, if you have been lazy for the last 5 years in cabinet, rest assured that you are not coming back to cabinet now, because he said the task remains quite massive ahead of us. Recommitting the ANC to socio-economic transformation, and said it cannot be business as usual, but the punchline was that we don't need lazy people. If you have been lazy, not working, you are not coming back. We'll only choose hardworking people.
And he said that this is your government, and if we take radical steps, it is on your behalf.
Yes.
Is this a hint of what might be coming in the next 24 hours?
It is a hint. I mean, as we were discussing earlier, that the ANC has dropped by 8% in the last 2 elections. 62%. You know, whoever thought the ANC would drop down to 62%? No one. So things new things have to be introduced, especially because we have the EFF, who've demonstrated that there's a lot of disgruntlement there. These chaps got more than 1 million votes. They're fairly new, hardly 6 months old. So, you know, something radical has got to be done, not only for the survival of the ANC, but to ensure that we remain a peaceful and stable republic.
Again, you know, I kept getting the sense that there was gratitude and thanks for the voters, and he used words like, we will commit ourselves to you, serve with humility and with dedication right across the board in government, in local government. And I guess that this is really a kind of a new, perhaps not new, but an attitude that he really wants to get across.
Well, yeah, and at the same time, we shouldn't be carried away by the moment. Talk is talk. Politicians do that most of the time. And it is in what they do that we are able to see their true intentions. There's been a lot of issues, a lot of corruption, wrong things that have been done under the president's watch. So hopefully this time around the president means what he says. Of course, it's a good moment, emotive moment. We are glad that he said what he said. You know, these are kind of things you say at these occasions. You can't say anything else. But the test comes in the implementation, in doing the things that he says he will do.
And they've been given 5 years to do that, and we'll certainly be watching. Dr. Mcebisi Ntletsana, head of the Faculty of Political Economy at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Mr. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. Always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And that's where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you very much indeed for watching this special broadcast of the inauguration of President Jacob Zuma. And as we were saying earlier, hopefully we'll be able to bring you the details of his next and perhaps most important decisions, his new cabinet. But from all of us here in Auckland Park, thank you very much indeed. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.